Welcome to our podcast, Inspiring Living, with me, Mark Candelaria. I am an architect, blogger, traveler, chef, father, and husband. I'm the founder and now a partner of a fabulous 25-person architecture firm specializing in high-end residential architecture, designing amazing homes across the country. We have hosted tours to Italy, Spain, and now Napa over the last 20 years, and in the course of all this, I have met a lot of interesting people who truly inspire me. Our podcast is about all the opportunities that are right there in front of us to inspiring living. Yes, we will talk about architecture and design, but every week we will venture into all sorts of topics that will inspire you, teach you, and motivate you to inspire living every day. My guests will include a wide gamut of amazing people, from those in the design industry to clients to real estate professionals, chefs, artists, sports figures, and philanthropists, and people who just flat out get it. Sit back and enjoy, and let's have some fun exploring all the opportunities that are there just waiting for us. Please subscribe and get ready to be inspired every week. Okay, as my dad says, here we go. Because inspiring living is all about the people and the organizations that inspire us, we are excited to have Monogram Appliances as one of our sponsors. Anytime we do a new kitchen or a kitchen remodel, Monogram Appliances are what we recommend to our client. Their appliances are the definition of luxury, meticulously detailed using the finest materials and an ownership experience that is second to none. This is how Monogram is always thinking ahead and inspiring and elevating the kitchen experience. Because at Monogram, they don't just elevate one thing, they elevate everything. Welcome, everybody. I hope everyone is doing great. We are on week 9 of working from home at Candelaria Design, and I can't believe I'm starting to lose track of the days and the weeks, and I can't believe it's already the middle of May. And but it looks like we're starting to get back to what's going to be the new normal. Who knows, where it's going to go from here. I am totally convinced there's going to be some relapses and some things that aren't going to go the way we want them to go, but that's the way life goes sometimes, and we're just going to have to adapt and keep going. That's what I always say, is just keep moving and stay positive. I think one of the big takeaways for me from all this was, just get off the hamster wheel a little bit. I spoke with my good friend Renee D on her podcast this morning, her Motivational Monday podcast. I think we all get so wrapped up in life and what's going on, and we're on this hamster wheel. We're just racing to the finish line. And I think it was kind of a blessing to sit back and take a look at our lives and realize, there's a lot of things here that we can maybe do a little differently as we move forward. So I hope as this comes to an end, you all take the time to make an assessment both on your personal life and your professional life, and walk out of this or come away from this whole experience with some good lessons. So I encourage all of you to take some time to do that. But I want to thank all of the views and participants of our cooking class. I've got a lot of thank yous, actually. There's quite a few. I'm very blessed, and I'm very happy that so many things are so wonderful. But we had a lot of fun. My daughter Tiffany, and I did our cooking class this past Saturday at the new Candelaria Design GE Monogram Demonstration Kitchen, and we made fabulous tiramisu, and I'm so happy to say we still have some. My daughter Bella found it in the fridge this morning, and let's just say it's gone. So I've got another one stashed away at the office. I'm going to bring that home tomorrow if it isn't totally devoured by who is at the office right now. And but it was a lot of fun, and that video is on YouTube. It's on our Instagram IGTV page on our Candelaria Design. So check that out. I want to say thanks to Arizona Foothills for naming us the best architect and architecture firm in their Best Of issue, now on the newsstands. Also, there is a new feature on a design philosophy written by writer David Brown in this month's Arizona Foothills. Special call out to David Brown. He's helping me out with my book, and what a great guy he is. We are on the cover of Phoenix Home and Garden this past month, along with Schultz Development and Earth and Images and Berghoff Design and so many others. Fabulous house up in Silverleaf, and great coverage again, and beautiful story by Phoenix Home and Garden. So thank you to the crew over there. We're also on the cover of Southwest Style magazine. My good friend Michelle Perillo, with a nice story inside featuring a beautiful house by my partner Meredith Thompson and yours truly, with interiors by Wiseman and Gale and landscape by Berghoff Design. There's another nice feature on me in Scottsdale Modern Luxury, and finally a fab feature of one of our contemporary homes in the new Lux magazine, now on newsstands. This one by my partner Vivian Ayala, and developed and built by Cullum Homes, and interiors by my podcast today guest, the fabulous Anita Lang. So check that one out. It's just hitting the newsstands now. It's a beautiful, beautiful contemporary home we did in the Mountain Shadows Resort with Cullum. So without further ado, it is my sincerest pleasure to welcome one of my dearest friends. Yes, I have lots of friends, I know. Thank God for that. Interior designer Anita Lang. We have collaborated on many amazing projects, including one we have under construction now with Brimley Development and my team headed by Damon Wake. This house is for the nicest couple and their family, and wow, this home is going to be a showstopper. So get ready for this one. We just broke ground; it's under construction, and what a great crew we've got on this project. So it's gonna be fabulous. It's on a street where I've done 6 other homes in a row, so this will be the 7th, and I'm very proud of this street. It's been basically over 20 years that I've been doing houses on the street, so it's kind of neat to see the evolution. And we've got everything from a Santa Barbara to kind of a Mexican adaptation to story remodel, a rural Mediterranean, a French-inspired country house, and then this ultra contemporary house, very earthy, very organic. That's going to be on the same street. So it's going to show this street's going to show a great progression of my career and the people that I've been so blessed to work with over this amazing career. So thank you so much. I understand another project we have completed with Anita and Schultz Development will soon be featured in Lux Magazine, so stay tuned for that. So this lady is amazing. She's soulful, she's uber talented, and yes, I do work with other interior designers beyond my wife Isabel, so this just proves that. So I'm so excited to share this call and this podcast with Anita with all of you. She's a special lady, someone very dear to my heart, and just a good person overall. And like I said, uber talented. So give it a listen. I think you'll enjoy it. There's some great takeaways. This was a really fun call. Obviously, we couldn't be in studio together because of the COVID-19, but I enjoyed this phone call, and I think you'll enjoy being a part of it. Arizona interior designer Anita Lang founded her company, IMI Design, in 1992 based on the principle that great design elevates the human spirit. Her and her team design spaces that attract and inspire an elite national clientele. Headquartered in Scottsdale, Arizona, Anita Lang is an authority on luxury residential and commercial interior design. Her award-winning concierge-level design and interior architectural services are well regarded and recognized throughout the United States. Since 1992, her focus has been on impactful and client-focused design, which has led to IMI's recognition and respect within the Southwest top tier of interior design firms. IMI believes that each project deserves passion for excellence, a unique approach for innovative solutions, and a commitment to design integrity. That is the most beautiful introduction. I think that's the best one I've read so far, Anita. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Mark. I'm so excited.
Well, it's nice to hear your voice. I wish we were sitting in the same room. I think we're all kind of suffering from that to a certain degree.
Absolutely.
But I'm glad you're here to join us on the podcast today. And I've known you for close to 20 years, I think, and we've worked on a number of amazing homes together, including a new one we are just breaking ground on with Damon
Yeah.
Wake in my office, and Brimley Development, and who else we got there? Refined Gardens, I think, is on that.
Yeah, exactly. It's been such a wonderful client. I just love that family. It's such a fun project to be working together on.
Yeah, it's going to be very neat. It's definitely got your flair in terms of the style
Hmm.
and vibe. It's on a great street. I've done I think 9 houses on that street, so it's going to be the first the
Mark, it's
first
amazing.
contemporary on that street. So I have a whole my whole life is right there on Roadrunner Road. So
It seems crazy that 20 years have passed since
isn't
we've
it? I
known each
remember that
other.
one
When you
time.
said that, I'm like,
Yeah,
wait a second.
I
I'm not
know.
even that old.
Oh, I remember that time we were cooking in your unit at the
Ah, the
Optima.
Optima. That's right. That was so fun. And you were doing your impressions. You were cooking.
Oh, you have a
It
good
was
memory. That does sound like something I would do though. But that was about that was right after that was about 15, 20 years ago.
It's true. I can't believe it.
Yeah,
Uh,
goes fast.
but it does.
Well, our clients just love your work, and I, of course, love collaborating with you. We've had some great projects over
Mm,
the years. So tell us a little bit about IMI Design and your approach and philosophy, because I think it's very, very interesting. And that's one of the
mm.
reasons I love working with you.
Yeah, well, and I have to say, I love collaborating with you. You know, I think that the longer that I do this, the more important it is to me to have the right team come together. And, you know, I remember when we were doing Mountain Shadows together, and we were all sitting there. Remember when we were doing the car bar
Yeah.
downstairs?
Oh, that was so fun.
And it was just like a bunch of kids planning a tree house. It's like, let's have this, and then no, somebody else would add their idea, and in that collaboration, the project just gets better and
Oh,
better, and
yeah.
it adds so much joy. And I love that in working with a good team.
That
And
was a great team. I mean, we had Vivian and the Cullum family, and it
yeah,
was just it was exactly like you said. It was really effortless. I mean, it was just so much. It was just
yes.
fun. You know.
And it's, everybody's supporting each other, and
Yeah.
someone takes an idea and just builds on it, and out of that becomes this amazing hybrid of a project, and you can just see how successful is it, all that good energy that comes out of it. So
Exactly.
I love that.
No, and then
And
go ahead.
well, I like, how do I describe my company? I've had it now for over 20 years. And when I started it, I think to describe a little bit about I think I could tell you about the name, because here I started as a baby designer, um, more ballsy than brainsy. Start my business. And at the time I called it Interior Motives, because I was young and cute,
That brings
being
back
cute.
memories. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, Interior Motives Inc. And so then people would shorten it to IMI. And a few years ago, I felt like, I outgrew that name. We're just doing much more sophisticated projects. We're doing so much architectural detailing and drawings. And I'm like, okay, I need to rebrand. Where should I go? And, those letters, IMI, what I love about design is the way it tells people's stories. You could say, I am bold, I am friendly, I am I want to be exciting in this project. Like, you're always telling your story about what you're doing. And that's where I really landed on just IMI Design.
Yeah.
Because in design, we get to tell people stories of who they are and how they want to live. And I truly believe that good design elevates the human spirit. And we all know that, like, when we're in spaces, a lot of times we pick a restaurant because of the way this, not just the food, it's also about the environment and how it makes us feel.
Sure.
Or we find certain corners in our house that just make us feel cozy or maybe energize us. And, that's what I love about the power of design.
Yeah. No, and it's so true. I mean, we all know that we've been in this business for a long time, and so we've seen the impact it makes on our clients over time. And
Yeah.
I to me it's been so rewarding to go back and see clients that have lived in I've got a client right now that's lived in their house since 82, and
Mm,
that's almost 40 years that they've lived in that
yeah.
house. And I was 22 when I started working on their house, and now I'm almost 60, and they're in their 80s. It's just
That is an amazing
isn't that
story. And you
isn't that
think
cool?
about that. I mean, you think about that background you gave them to live their lives. They raised their family in
Yeah.
that, all the memories that were
Yeah.
made. And I think of that when I'm designing for my clients is, like the Dadas that we're working on together right
Yeah.
now. I was thinking that they have a young family. This is going to be the house those children remember growing up
Oh
in.
yeah.
All the birthday parties that are against that background, all the happy memories, the sad memories, the tough things that everyone goes through. We make those backgrounds that create, just sort of the stage for their lives. And
Right.
that's such a great example to think of somebody that's lived in that house for 40
Isn't that
years. That's
crazy?
so rewarding.
But and I think what happens too is, and this is why I've always enjoyed working with you, is you're very mindful about all the decisions that all the decisions you go down and make in the design of each space. And so it's not like, well, let's just park some wood on this wall. Let's do this, and let's do, I saw this in a magazine. Blah blah blah. No, you're really you. What I've noticed about you is you try to get to know the client and what motivates them, and you play off of that, and then the
Yeah.
materials or the inspirations come from the things they show you or the things they say, and I love that about your work.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. And you're right. Like, really, I don't let myself design because being creatives, right? Ideas come to us automatically. I always tell people I want to have more ideas than we can even
Oh
use. Like, the
God.
ideas are not the problem.
Yeah, that's not the
The
problem.
problem, right? That's not going to be the problem.
No.
The problem is getting to the right idea. And I won't let myself start the creative process until I do what I call the download with my clients, which is just really sit there and hear who they are, the things that are meaningful for them, and not just like, oh, I like the color, this color or that color. It's like, well, I like these colors because this is how they make me feel, or this
Right.
is the memory that I have attached to that. And as much as you can learn about them, it becomes the muse for your project. It's where you then let the creative side take over and translate that into something meaningful. And then the architecture too, right? So you have the personal experience that you want to have for each of the client. And then you also want the design to be meaningful for the architecture and be
Right.
true to the structure. And that's why I love collaborating with architects, because we're on that same page. It's like you start that philosophy for the home, and then okay, how do we make sure that has a harmony all the way through the interiors, and there's integrity in what we're doing. So I just really love pulling all those pieces of the puzzle together
Yeah.
for a project.
No, and the thing that I always like to erase the boundary too. It's like, you're an
Yeah,
interior designer, I'm an architect. If we work with Berghoff or Jeremy from Refined Gardens, they're the landscape art. But what I like to do is just say, hey, there's no boundaries, guys. You go inside, I go outside, we go here,
yeah,
we go there. And what happens when we do that is the final product is just a merge, and it's a collaboration of all of it. And I think that's why it flows. It has this continuity to it all.
exactly. And iron sharpens iron. Like, you, a different little perspective. You suggest something, and I'm like, oh yeah, that leads to another solution that maybe we wouldn't have thought of on our own.
Right.
And you come from everybody comes from a little different perspective on the team too. I always think like architects start kind of in my mind, they start sort of from the outside in. I mean, you have to make sure the structure can stand and not collapse on anybody.
Right.
And then designers sort of start from the inside out and think about how the family's using the space and building out. And there's so much crossover in that process.
Right.
And in that becomes even the better design. And
Yeah.
the landscape designer, I mean, especially in Arizona, everything's
Indoor,
indoor
outdoor.
outdoor living. You
Yep.
want all those connections between the spaces so it feels harmonious and seamless.
Exactly. So let me ask you now, let's go back and start at the beginning. Where are you from and what brought you to Arizona? I always love that story from everybody. Everyone's story is
Ah,
so unique.
um, well, and now when someone asks that question to me at a party, Mark, I say, well, do you know where the Orion's Belt does? Well, there's a group of planets behind that.
Exactly.
But the way that I started is by way of Chicago. I was born in Chicago to immigrant German parents, and lived there for a little bit with all my German relatives. In fact, my first language was German. I've
Oh, that's
forgotten it
neat.
since, but yeah, my first words were German.
So my mom
And
is
then
from East Germany. I don't know if you knew that or not.
well, that's where my family's from, East Germany. They all escaped to West
So
Germany
did
and then
mine.
eventually immigrated here. So
Yep.
we have, and there's such great things for that. I'm always so appreciative of that heritage and all the things that I've learned from it. So we started in Chicago, and then for a little bit, my dad lived in Arizona when I was really small for a short time for a job out here, and then we moved to the East Coast. So I actually grew up in the state of Maine, and my on the ocean with my brothers and sisters in this idyllic like setting with ocean, forests, streams, you name it.
Wow.
We would just wander for the day. So I have such appreciation for nature. And then went by Wisconsin, went to school there, had gotten married there, and then came out to Arizona, which now I'm not married here, but I've been raising two kids in Arizona for like 20
Okay,
years.
so how
So
did you get from Wisconsin to Arizona then? Do you just say, okay, one day you just hopped on you got in your car and drove to Arizona,
Well,
or what?
it's
What,
funny
what brought you
because
here?
when my parents moved back to Arizona after I was in Wisconsin, went to school in Wisconsin, and then started my design company. Just had started it in Wisconsin, and they had moved back to Arizona.
Oh,
And
okay.
my dad would talk about Arizona as if the streets were paved in gold. We thought it was the promised land.
Well, I still think it's the promised land.
It is,
It's
right?
so nice.
It's so nice.
Yeah.
So I moved, and just it was the best thing I could have done for my career. Much stronger to have a design career here in Arizona, where we have so much going, and started my company up right away here too.
And what year
So
was that?
that was in '92.
92. Okay.
Yeah,
So when you
yeah.
came out here, you just started your own firm right then and there.
I did, and that's the whole thing. So my whole family's entrepreneurs. All my uncles, my dad. I really never even thought you worked for somebody else. I worked for somebody out of school for a really short time, but started my business like within 6 months. So the bad thing about that is I made tons of mistakes, and I made them on my own penny. But the good thing on that is when you make a mistake on your own penny, you never forget it.
No, for sure. You look that goes in the database, and you don't even have to think about it. It's there.
It's there.
It's there. Yep, for sure. So you came out, you started your own little firm, and
Yeah.
you were just doing interior design right out of the gate.
Yeah. So I mean, my mind has always thought spatially, and it's always interesting because I feel like every human is given their gift, and you sometimes don't even realize that, but it's just how my mind is wired. Now, I can't play music, I can't do accounting, but I can do design, and so it came really easy for me. Even when I had an interesting childhood because my dad is a German engineer, so he always also thought very mechanically, and also kind of inbred in me of having to know how things come together and how they work. So it was a nice mix to have that creative side and kind of that more practical side with it. He always built the homes that we lived in.
Hmm.
So I've been
You've been around it.
around it. I mean, my brothers and sisters, I put in installation, we hung shingles, you name it, we ran wires.
Wow. Now, what do
So
your
it was
brothers
a
and
nice.
sisters do? Just out of
I have
curiosity.
two brothers and one sister. Oh, and the German. You know this if you have a German mom.
Yeah.
You don't eat unless you work.
Yeah. There you go. That's right.
So it's. But you've got some of that Italian in you that kind of counteracts
Oh
it.
yeah. I got the whole thing going in me. So, do they live here in Arizona, or do they live back in Wisconsin? Or
No, they live here in Arizona
oh, that's
too. Yeah.
nice. So, do you see
So
them
that's how
often?
I ended up here.
Do you see them often?
Um, Not as much as one would like.
Yeah. So, but you were married in Wisconsin.
Yes. Got married in Wisconsin,
Yep.
moved out here, and then had kids right away. So, um, yeah. So being a single mom for a while, right,
Yeah.
and raising these two amazing kids. As you know, it's always such a blessing to have kids. You have your two girls too,
I actually have
and
three.
in the long run, they teach us more than we teach them for
Oh
sure.
yeah. So that's tough though. So you were a single mom running your own little business out here, and you've done that pretty much this whole time, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So, um, and it's interesting because I have such compassion for single parents,
Mm-hmm.
and you always feel like you're only doing a half job on all accounts. Like you're not giving enough time to your business, you're not giving enough time to your kids,
Yeah.
and you always feel like it's very stressful. But in the end, because now my daughters one's in college at NYU studying to be an environmental attorney, and the other
Nice.
one just graduated from ASU from Barrett as also a sustainable tourism and management degree. So our
Interesting.
whole house is about sustainability.
You got to sustain yourselves.
But they did good. Like it worked out. And so when I see young moms and dads that are struggling, I always have to tell the story about my daughter because it made me feel better. She was 5 at the time, and they were doing a project in our school teaching adjectives. So they went around the room and everybody had to say an adjective about their mom. So one of the kids would
Hmm.
be, oh, my mom is pretty, my mom is kind. And they get to Sienna, my daughter, and they said, my mom is powerful.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
right? That is the thing to hold on to as a single parent because it never feels like you're going to do enough.
Yeah.
But in the end, I mean, it really empowers them to do all their dreams.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly. Yep.
yeah.
So true. So, your work is so beautiful. It's so diverse. I know we've got I think you told me the other day we've got one of our projects being featured in Lux Magazine here coming up pretty soon.
Yes. Yes.
And talk about
Exciting.
an incredible project that was, right?
Absolutely.
So where do you draw your inspiration and innovations in your designs?
Um, I think being a creative, and I'm sure this is true for you, it is from every source, every experience we have, everything that goes in our head is just collected in that crazy brain of ours. It's from travel. I love to travel. I know you do too.
Yep.
That has really opened your mind and bring in so many cultural influences into my design, natural textures, and just being, yesterday I was on a walk, because now that's all we can do, right, is take our walks.
Yep.
And I'm walking on the canal, and the sun is starting to set, and it hits like the fresh green leaves of the mesquite tree, and it hits those leaves in just such a way that it looks like the green is illuminated from within. I'm like,
Oh, I
that
know what you're
color
talking
is
about. Yep.
haunting me. It's going to show up on some project because it's just, I call it that spring green. And so that'll show up somewhere when
That's
it's the
cool.
right time.
Yeah, and
You know,
so
you,
go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just going to say, you collect from everywhere, and it just
Yeah.
stays in that kind of treasure chest of yours. And you go up there and it's fun when you go into that zone where you're going to design for people. For me, like, I start that process very meditatively.
Yep.
Like, I slow down. I really think about the client. I think about the project. I do sort of a meditation where I center myself, and then I go into that creative zone, and it's so fun and so exciting. Like, I don't know if really 5 minutes goes by or 5 hours goes by. Like, time stands still for me when I'm in that spot, and it's fun to just see what comes out. I'm as surprised as the next person. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that's fun.
Yeah. No, see,
Let's
I
do
love
that.
hearing you say that because I experience the same thing, obviously probably in a little different way, but it's very similar. And
Yeah,
I'm not even conscious of that until I hear you talking about it. And I go, oh gosh, I do that same thing. It's
yeah.
become such a part of my way of living and my life and my thinking that I just that's just how I do it. I don't consciously recognize it. Does that make
It's such
sense?
an yes, absolutely, because it's such an intuitive process, really.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, sometimes if I get too far into my head or too concerned about something, I have to set that aside to get into that more flow state and
Right.
allow the answers to come. And it's such a joyful state. Like, it's a natural high. Like, if in fact, like, there are days if it's super stressful and we have to do some of the other business things, like deal with problems or deal with money or whatever that is, if I can just go and design, it's what feeds my soul. Like,
Yeah.
that spot where you can just get in tune with that creative process is everything. And I feel so blessed that I have a career that allows us to do that, right? Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, so you bring up another good topic that I always like to talk about with designers is when you get into design as a young student or whatever, you think that you're going to sit there and be mindful and daydream and come up with great ideas and sketch all day. I mean, how much of your day is composed of running your business operation and dealing with, collecting money or chasing a
Yeah,
client or writing a letter or an email that, you need to address a problem with a vendor. I mean, how much of that it's a big
exactly.
chunk, right?
It's the majority.
It's
I
the
say it's about
majority.
90% is doing that, and 10% is when we get to
Totally.
design. But it
Totally.
is the best 10% of time I ever spend, that it makes everything else worth it.
Yeah, no, that's
It
exactly
makes
right. I was really looking to see what percentage you were going to say, and I was guessing it'd be somewhere between 10 and 20% because that's kind of what I see. And
yeah.
so, when do you find you like to get into that 10% zone? Is it can you do
Mm.
it during the day, or is it in the night? Is it in the morning, or is it on the weekend? When do you like to do that?
That's so good. That's a great question. And I think it's always a little different. And right now, I feel like my whole schedule is different,
Yeah,
anyways, right? Like, nothing is normal. But,
yeah,
I tend to do really good work like first thing in the morning.
yeah,
And what it really takes, though, is just quiet alone time for me. So, that's dependent on how my team needs me and what other
right.
things are going around. So it's really just finding some time to be quiet with yourself, so that you can get into that creative energy. So it changes for me.
Yeah. Oh,
You're
I just
you're an
think.
early bird,
Yeah,
though. You
well,
get
I
up
like the
early,
early.
don't you?
Yeah, I like the early morning because there aren't all the distractions,
Yeah,
and you don't
yeah.
feel like you're missing out on something. Like I just don't get people that can work at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. I mean, I forget it. There's too many distractions, you know. And by 11 o'clock, I mean, for me, I guess, because I've been up since 3 or 4, I'm done at 11. My brain's not working anymore. And I've had, maybe 1 or 2 cocktails with good friends, and that's where I'm staying for the night. So,
Exactly.
but 4 o'clock in the morning, it is quiet. The house is just totally quiet. Sometimes I'll go into the office just because I want to change the environment. But I love just getting up, get a cup of coffee. I put whatever I want to listen to, and I'm interrupted for 4 hours.
Yeah, that's heaven.
It's heaven,
Heaven.
total heaven.
It is heaven.
But I know we both like to travel. I know we were probably both planning on being Milan this month, and that didn't
I
happen.
know. I know, it's so sad.
We
It's
had
it's
some
technically it was supposed to be happening right
right
now.
about
We were
now,
gonna be in
yeah.
Salone. I know.
We had so much fun last year. I mean, it was just fabulous. It's the first year we'd ever been. I know you've gone quite often, but it's
Yeah.
great. What a venue.
It is, and I really try not to miss Milano and the Salone show there because it is so inspirational, and you really are able to keep your finger on what's happening internationally for
Right.
design and be, really up to date, be knowledgeable for my clients and what I can offer them,
Yeah.
and really just be inspired. I mean, everybody goes, every strong design team is in Italy, all the furniture that's being shown, and you're just really seeing the best of the best. So,
Yeah. It's
and
fabulous.
it is fabulous. And, it's a little different mindset in Italy, I think, compared to the shows here, like High Point in in Italy, the way they do the design is everything. Here, it's interesting. Like you go to a show and they kind of show you the merchandise. Here's the new chair, and they tell you
Right.
the benefits of the new chair. That's not what it's like in design. It's very in Italy. It's much more design driven. They're
Right.
like, here's the inspiration. Here's where the designer was coming from, and the designers are all the little mini gods that are walking
Right.
around.
Yeah.
So it's such a celebration of creation. I love that
So
about
last year, to kind
those
of play on
shows.
your comment, we went right from Milan right to High Point. So I saw that stark contrast you
Mhm.
just mentioned right away. I mean, it's very apparent. And I
Yes.
agree. In Italy, at the show there, it is much more. It's a broader scope of vision of how design affects everything. And High Point, it's
Everything.
more like you said. Let's buy a chair.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
it's
It's
all
so
about merch. It's
different.
all American. It's very merchandise driven, and
Yeah.
the Italian thing's more of an experience.
And I think because I have the German parents, and I right from the start I was exposed more internationally. I'm so drawn to that kind of philosophy
Yeah.
about the importance of design behind something and not just merchandising
Right.
something. And so everything's done with much more intent and thoughtfulness. Um, so it's more, here for a long time, we really fight more disposable type of furniture, consumerism, and trying to have the philosophy more that you curate your collection. You pick pieces that are important, you pick less pieces, but they're meaningful
Right.
and they stay with you for your life. And, that makes more of a unique homes when people do that. Everything doesn't look just like a RH magazine cover, right? You get more uniqueness and diversity in the projects that way.
Right.
So
Well, and sustainability, which you mentioned earlier in the podcast, is a real important factor to you,
it
personally
is.
and in your work. Tell us about that a little bit.
I think everything we do, we get the choice how we want to live, right? And doing right by our neighbors, doing right by ourselves, and doing right by the earth has an impact on our lives, just the way we feel about our own lives. So for me, it's really important. And it's not that I want to be on a soapbox about it, because even the nature of my industry, we are going to leave a mark on our carbon footprint. Like, I understand that we're building homes,
Right.
we're still creating pieces, but how can we do it in the best way to at least be thoughtful and do as much as we can to protect the future and what we're handing off to our kids? So
Exactly.
there's so many things we can do, and it can still be great design. It goes to one of the things we just mentioned, is not to think of things as disposable. Buy pieces of furniture and things that can stay with you from space to space. Buy local when we can. Um, think about the life cycle of the products that we're purchasing. What's going to happen to them after, if we are not going to use them forever, what's going to happen to them after that? Like, just really be conscious of those things. And I mentioned my two daughters are going to school around sustainability. So it's just really we really try to make it part of our lifestyle. And, we have a lot of challenges. We have tons of plastic. That's a huge global issue.
Yeah.
What can we do? Every little decision we can make can just improve it one step at a time.
Well, and I
So
think look, we were talking before we started the podcast. I mean, I'm just looking outside at out the window here, and I've been saying this. I can't believe how clear Camelback Mountain is.
yes,
And so
I
it's not only
know
our consumerism, but our actions and how we're interfacing and how we're going from 5 meetings in our car and wasting all this time
yeah.
and money and gas, and it's kind of utterly ridiculous, to be honest
It
with you.
is. And what a great chance we have to do a reset button.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't have to do that. We can take our bike. We don't have to go shopping
We
all the
can jump
time.
on a
It's
Zoom
not
meeting and do it in
necessary.
5 minutes.
Exactly. So this has been really a powerful reset button. If we take the lessons being taught to us right now, I'm really appreciative of it.
Yeah.
It's so fun to go out and, I live close to the canal and I can watch all the families out on their bikes and older couples walking hand in hand. And I'm like, oh, this is a really beautiful way to live
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. There's a
You
lot of
know?
takeaways from all this for sure, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
terms of the sustainability, you also launched a furniture line, right? Tell us about
I
that a little bit.
did. It's Design 528, which is like my third child. And I have a furniture line that's made with all sustainable methods. And the exciting thing is, I'm working right now on a linens line. Um, so it'll be a bedding line, and it's going to be made with hemp and eucalyptus. It's a sheet set, and it has a bunch of layers to it. I'm just working on it now. I can't tell everything yet, but I'm really excited of that. I should have that launched by the end of the year. So it's
That's
been a
awesome.
process. And even the name Design 528, I have to tell you about the name because that was
Okay.
harder for me to pick than even naming my children.
Gosh.
Took me a year to get the name. But when I was working on my furniture line, I wanted a name that showed my belief in the way good design really elevated the human spirit and how it resonates. There's a resonation because of that. So I was trying to think, and I came across this fact that um, the note of C in music, the note of C is the note that resonates the most with the human spirit. It's considered the frequency of love, actually, and it's Hertz 528.
Hmm.
It's the note that John Lennon wrote, like Imagine It. It's just a sound that really means something to us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I picked that number 528 to represent my furniture line and my product line now,
That's
Design
beautiful.
528.
I
No.
love that. That's so cool. And then, I love music. I play the piano. I'm not great, but I enjoy it. It's a way
Oh, you're amazing.
to
I've heard you
meditate.
play.
And just so many. And cooking is my other thing. I just what I've learned is how many parallels there are in all the arts to
Yeah.
what we do. There's melody. There's rhythm. There's all these little
Yes.
aspects. Too many notes. Just keep it simple. And I find there's all these little comparisons that you can incorporate into every art that you want to engage in, but they're all connected. And so I
That's
love the
so
way that
true.
I love that name. That's a great name.
Thank you.
It's awesome. So what tends to be the most popular design requests from your clients? Because I think you do have kind of a look, but I know you've done all different styles.
I do. I like it. I get bored if I do the same thing over and
Right.
over. So I enjoy that. I always like changing things up, and the client has always added, a different twist because
Yeah.
they are the muse. And one of the things I have to say that I feel that clients really are looking for is some simplicity to life, ease of living, and comfort. They want it to be beautiful, like almost a given, but they don't want it to be fussy or complicated, and that's not real luxury if it hinders our lifestyles. So I would say that's been a really driving force, and thinking of making sure that things are functional for them as well as beautiful.
Right. So when a project comes along, when do you think is the ideal point for you to be involved? I know what my answer is. I want to hear what your answer is.
I love to be involved right away.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's my
it's
answer.
yeah, it's like just in that. we we just start that flow as a team right away. We're understanding all the needs of the project and the family that we're designing for, and we're working together right from thinking through what the adjacencies are, right, and how people are going to live in that space. And then
Right.
as soon as you as the architect starts putting some floor plans down, let us take a look at them, because now we can have our eyes on what we know about the lifestyle of that family and
Yep.
where it could go, and let's build it together. That way we don't have to make as many more changes
Oh, I
down
know, and
the
that's
road.
that's always my pet peeve is I tell clients when we have our first initial interview, I said, look, the best projects I've ever had in my career have been when you put the whole team together right out of the gate and we all go down the tracks together. There's
Yep.
nothing worse than when you start bringing people in as you're going down the journey, and because they all want to make their mark on where this thing is going, and all of a sudden it's like, I mean, I've had projects where, you know, the designer or whoever comes in and they just start changing everything because they're now on the team and they want to make their mark on everything.
Yeah, and then
And
you are
oh, it
going
drives me
backwards in
insane.
order to go forwards. Agreed. And it really is the best when everyone's together. That to the point when we started, pulling the right team together is
Yeah.
what I get excited about for the projects that I'm in. It's just that collaboration. You need a great architect, you need a great builder, because none of us can do it on our own. We
Nope.
need that builder to know how he's going to take these visions and make it happen.
Right.
We need the designer for the details on the interior, and then we need the client who's the muse and kind
Sure.
of willing to pay and believe in all of our dreams to tick
Yeah.
all four of those people.
No, and to play off the music metaphor, it's basically getting all of your musicians and putting them on the stage, and there's nothing better than when you get to jam out with people you've jammed out with before, and you kind of know
Yes.
how they're going to zig and zag and when they're going to play this note, and you go, "Yep, I love that when she plays that note. Here we go." So it is, right?
That's so true.
It's so true. And clients look at us like, God, they're sure having fun here, you know. But that energy gets absorbed into the design, I think. Well, I know it does.
I know it does too. I mean, and it's, that when I talk about even my furniture line and, doing things that resonate with people, when there is an important intention behind something with integrity and really compassion for the people we're serving, those spaces resonate that.
Right.
We're not doing this because we're in it for just the money, right? Of course, we're making a
Right.
living, but we're in it to create something beautiful and meaningful for the people that we serve. And
Right.
that's how I look at it, is like, okay, we've been given this gift to see things and to be able to create, which is how our minds are wired. And the reason that's the case is because now it's our ability to give that to the rest of our brothers and sisters, the rest of humanity. And that's what I always feel like is my goal to do when I'm working with my
Yeah,
clients.
no, and that's one of the things I enjoy what I enjoy working with you is the depth and the spiritualness that you put into your projects. And so, what are some of the daily habits that you do to keep yourself positive, inspired, and grounded, Anita?
Um, That is a great question, and I do a meditation every day, and because our lives are so hectic,
Yep.
and there's stress involved for everybody. Everybody has lives that create stress between what are careers and family responsibilities and all things that demand on us. So I've really made it a practice to start my day with a meditation, and then just right before I go to sleep, I do a meditation too. It's interesting because the meditation that I'm doing right now is an I am meditation.
Hmm.
And yeah, and it's interesting that the name of my company ended up being IMI,
There's no
because when
accidents, you know that.
yeah, so there are no accidents. Those words are really powerful words.
Yep.
They go back to even like the Hebrew Testament, and then there's been a lot of like Dr. Dyer has done a book on that. So that's what my meditation starts with, and I go through several different qualities that I want to reflect in my day, whether it be love or beauty or truth, and I go through that part in my meditation, and it really just grounds me.
Yeah, that's great. And you know, I've never been a great meditator in terms of crossing my legs and doing the whole thing and zoning off into another world. And I think a lot of people get intimidated by the fact that they feel that that's what you need to do. And I've come to realize that everyone just can do their own thing in their own way. But I think it's the taking the time to do that and to calm yourself down. And if it's as simple as just visualizing where your day is going to go, that
Yeah.
is meditating.
Absolutely, I agree with you 100% because I had such a hard time
Oh,
meditating before because you think you have to be really zen and quiet, and
yeah.
I can't do it.
Stop your
Yeah.
mind. Like, yeah, try stopping my mind. Forget it. It ain't gonna
Yeah,
happen.
forget it.
You know.
There's too many squirrels up there.
So this whole COVID thing, I know we've been working from home. How you guys have been doing kind of the same thing? I know you said a couple people are working from home, a couple people
Yeah.
trickle in. I mean, how you dealing with it?
We're doing okay. We our team meets once a day through Zoom, so we all can see each other's faces
Yeah,
and
it's
check on
nice.
each other, just touch base. Um, we I have to say that it has made me really appreciate everybody. I love my team anyways, and I miss some of that interaction with them every
Right.
day. When we are back together, I think I'm going to be so much better for it. I appreciate it. But we're managing, So the other thing is just all the modern day technologies and becoming really comfortable with them, I think has been a benefit too. So,
Right.
we do a lot of across the country projects. So we've been used to teleconferencing, and, we have our online specification binder that works really well. But this has even been another step to be able to bring it in home with our team.
Right.
So it's been going pretty good, but I do miss having people around me. I will have to say that.
Yeah, there's an energy, and there's thing you're
Yeah.
drawing something, you can bounce it off somebody right away, and they can look at it and give you some.
Yeah.
The collaboration part's a little bit tougher because you don't have that. There's energy that happens, I think, when you're sitting across from somebody that you just can't quite get on a Zoom meeting. But on the flip side, I've noticed amazing productivity from my team.
Oh, absolutely. That we're getting so much work done. It's incredible.
So I
We're
think
we're less distracted by each other.
right. So I think there's a happy medium there that we're going to try to meld into. I think we're going to really try to do some rotation of work from home by teams and things like that, and just try out some of the
Yeah.
things that we're seeing that are effective and efficient.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. So, what are some
So
takeaways? What are some of the things that Anita Lang would say are your tricks of the trade, or some of the things that you do? And before I even go there, one thing that I appreciate of your work is one of my pet peeves, I guess I should say, is a lot of what I see being called contemporary architecture here locally. There's a lot of good art contemporary architecture, and there is a lot of really poorly done contemporary architecture.
yeah.
And most of it is due to the lack of mindfulness. Is that it's just crank it out, get it put four walls up. We'll call it edited and done, and it's contemporary. And like no thought whatsoever. You look at the scale, the proportion. It's
Yeah.
horrible. That
Yeah.
has got to drive you insane.
It does. It's so sad because it's a missed opportunity, right? And
Yeah.
that's just heartbreaking. And mediocrity is the worst. Like it just makes me sad. And I feel like sometimes in design, people are just taking Pinterest and they're copying it and
Yeah,
copying it,
for
and
with
it's
no
not
thought.
innovative,
It's cut
right?
and
So
paste.
and it's such a chance to really make a beautiful statement
Right.
and be true to the architecture, and I just hate missing that. And what I know a lot is people can say one thing that they like, but it's hard sometimes, like for my clients, to picture how all the different elements come together
Right.
and make the
Right.
final composition, to
That's
your
the
point,
thing.
with
That's
scale and
that's it right
balance.
there. Everyone
Yeah.
has this cut and paste thing, and I guess one way you could look at it, it's like, well, let's just cut and paste a bunch of paragraphs, and we'll just throw them together and make a story. Well, you know what that story is going to look like. It's going to be a total joke, you know. Whereas
Exactly.
to sit there and compose each letter to each word to each paragraph that all link together to make this beautiful story, that to me is the art of a designer. And I see with my wife Isabel, it's the same thing. And she gets so frustrated. She goes, "People don't realize you can just I can get on the website and pick everything." Well,
Yeah.
good luck when it comes in two sizes too big. The colors don't work,
Exactly.
and you've
And
seen
and
it,
you're missing such an opportunity. It's really being able to step back. And the longer I do this, I feel like even for myself, of course we grow as a designer, and it's about editing and
right?
stepping back and understanding when you don't need more, right?
Right.
You can get by with less of it, and it is the overall composition that's making the
Yeah.
statement. And it is harder when people don't have that experience. I mean, I've done this now over 20 years, right? I live and breathe it every single day with
Yeah.
a passion. And so being able to step back and understand what is the final canvas look like, which is the entire space.
Right.
You become more sophisticated in your selection, and you pull back from some of the gimmicky trends that are happening,
Yeah.
so that you can have something a little more classic and timeless, and also still reflective of her personality, because I do feel that sometimes we're losing personality in our projects, and using interesting textures and materials that are authentic to the space,
Right.
and just thinking through all of those different layers is
Well,
important.
I think the timeless aspect is really getting tougher for people to attain because of the cut and paste mentality of Pinterest and House and things like that. I think, I look at some of these things that are just done 2, 3 years ago, and I was like, oh my
And
God, it looks
and
horrible.
they look horrible, and they end up looking cheap and
Yep.
dated in no time. And I can see it coming. Every all the crazy trends. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but the wood porcelain tile,
Yep.
yeah, that's
So
that's a
funny.
bad one.
Yep. No,
It's
it's
like it
interesting.
just
And
gets out of hand.
it's going to be interesting to look back. I mean, I already find it very fascinating to look back over my 40 years and just see what has stuck and what hasn't.
Yeah.
And you see the styles that are still here. I mean, a classic one is Santa Barbara style. It's still
Oh, it's
happening. It's being
always good.
reinterpreted, but the underlying elements of that style are what makes it timeless. You know,
It's true. It's true. There's such an elegance to that. And it's not that people can't have fun and use juxtaposition of
sure,
materials or styles. All of that can work when you're using the right balance and scale in a project. You can do that, and you can
right?
add personality, but you want to stay away from something too trendy, because that's when it starts to get dated looking. And
Yeah,
so I do encourage people to get more original, though, too. Let your personality come out and be a little daring. Um, you know, it's nice to reference some of the long-staying power of some either historical materials or strong art pieces,
hmm,
something that has a lot of strength to it,
yep,
to bring that into your projects. But you always have to, with design, you have to know all the rules, and then you can break them successfully. But you
right.
have to understand them in order to break them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think a lot of people just skip the rules and just start throwing stuff out there, and
Yeah,
it's just not well thought out and doesn't have that timeless factor.
it's
So,
true.
um, so what's ahead for you? What are some of the goals you have for the next, let's say, 5, 10 years?
Well, I'm really excited about my product line. We've been working on that. There's layers of that expanding. I'm working on something really exciting. I don't. Should I say it?
No, you can if you want, but if
Okay.
not,
Well,
we
it
can save
looks
it for
like
another
I'm gonna
podcast.
I'm gonna become a hotelier. I'm
Oh,
looking at doing a small boutique hotel with a partner of mine. So that's a
that's
whole nother
awesome.
adventure.
Well, you probably have a whole different perspective on how that might work now after this whole scenario that we've just went through.
For sure, for sure, for sure. And
Yep.
it's been perfect timing, actually,
Yeah.
because we're in the development, but this has given us another way to look at things to make sure people are safe and will feel
Yep.
comfortable.
Yep.
So that's fun. And then for me, I just cannot travel enough,
I know.
so, and this year Burning Man is canceled.
Oh, that's what I
So
was going to ask you about. Cause you go to Burning Man every year, right?
every year. So this year I have to throw my own, and it's going to be more local. And you're just going to have to come, Mark.
Oh, you got to
You and
put
Isabel.
Isabel on that list. That sounds like awesome. Now, do you still have that cool bus that you had?
I do.
Tell us,
I
tell
do.
our listeners about that. That is the neatest thing.
Oh, it's cozy. My bus cozy. It's a 1971 MCI. So it's a Greyhound bus. Like, it used to be a Greyhound bus that would go around the city and pick up and drop off passengers. And like 20 years ago, it was bought by a man and his wife that spent their entire retirement on turning it into an RV. So they put in a walk-in closet. They have a shower and kitchen and everything. And then I bought it with a friend about 5 years ago and totally renovated it. And it's all rock starred
Oh, it's
out
so
on the
cool.
inside. So I have crocodile leather floors in it, like embossed floors, and I have this wood that is from a Mennonite temple that was up on the Canadian border, and it's all gray and weathered, and then I have disco tiles in between each of the boards.
That is so cool.
It's so fun. It's just walking in it makes everyone fun.
Yeah.
And it's a Greyhound bus, and this year I learned how to drive it to Burning Man by myself because I always had a friend drive it for me, but this year I conquered this thing. It's 45 feet long, Mark.
Oh, I've been in it. I've been there. You need to do a documentary of this sometime. That would be so cool.
We definitely need to.
Yeah. Or sometime we got to do the bus and cooking and a little party.
Yes, I love that idea.
That'd be a lot of fun. We've got a lot. We've got a lot to do. We got a lot of years ahead of us, Anita. We're going to be doing so many fun things, and I know we got some other little secret projects we're doing with Renee D that are a lot of fun, and she's great. And I mean, that's another thing I love to talk about. It's just, don't you love the design community in this town?
I feel so lucky for
right?
us. Like, yeah, it's just a great group of people, fun to collaborate with. Good people.
Very supportive of each other.
Supportive, very much so.
Yeah.
I know we're so lucky.
I think we all recognize who's paid the dues, and we all have a respect for those people that do.
Yeah.
And, I talked to magazine editors around the country, and they all say, some of the best work we're seeing is coming out of Arizona.
I know. I'm so proud of us.
Yeah, it's awesome, right?
It is.
I think we just all kind of push each other in a real positive way. That's what I like about it.
It's so true.
We're all very supportive of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I want to thank you. How do we get a hold of you? Where do we find you, Anita?
I'm on Instagram, designer Anita Lang.
And it's a great Instagram site. You got to check it out. You always have great content on there.
Thank you. We try.
Oh, you do a great job. I love it. So we'll find you there. What else? You got your website?
Yep, IMIDesign.com. So you can find us there. And then we have our studio right in Old Town Scottsdale too. So when we can meet again, we can all get together here as well.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful studio. I always love going over there. Sometimes I'll go just to sit in your conference room because it's so relaxing and so zen. My team members go, "What's he doing here? He's not on this team." I said, "No, I just came to chill out in Anita's conference room for a while." So, well, great job. I'm so glad you took the time to do this. I always enjoy talking to you. It's so easy. We always have such great energy. It's so much fun. So
thank you, and that's likewise too. I appreciate you tons.
Yep, let's do some great projects ahead, huh?
Okay, that sounds good.
All right, love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I want to say a big thank you to my good friends at Stockett Tile and Granite Company, where your project is our priority. The Stockett team, along with so many others, are coming really close to the finish line in our demonstration kitchen and our new expansion of our Candelaria design offices. I've had the pleasure of working with the Stockett team for nearly 40 years on some amazing projects, and trust me, they are the epitome of excellence when it comes to tile, marble, and granite work, bar none. Their skill in customer service is impeccable, and the bottom line is they are just good people. I have traveled with, dined with, and just had good times both personally and professionally with Dave Stockett and his lovely wife Becky, and they are the best. When it comes to your next kitchen, make sure Stockett Tile and Granite is part of your team. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed our podcast. We encourage you to write a review, screenshot it, and share it with your friends. Please instant message it to me and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We thank you for listening, and we look forward to sharing more insights to inspiring living next week.